James Dean kind of guy, and he came from old money in Boston and all this other stuff, and his parents didn't come to the wedding or anything in California. My mom married him. She thought, she had this like amazing happily ever after fairy tale kind of deal. And then they took her back to, the East Coast, and they put her we think that she was handled by the government, because then she was put into the hospital by him and his family, and she was basically tortured in a mental hospital for like 6 months until they called my family to come get her. So in the waves, I can see what had happened to a lot of the star people that came in the first and second wave, if that's what happened before we came here. But a lot of people that I've worked with, that fit into those star categories, or people that know people that were in those waves, a lot of them didn't make it. A lot of us haven't made it at all. And yeah, it can be really, our systems can be really, really tough for people who are kind of more cosmic, where they're just so open. They're just so wide open, because where they come from, there's no reason for protection or to be closed down, or this could be a really hard place for certain beings, for sure. A boot camp of sorts.
Exactly. Ahmad, you're my age, roughly, and so we would be considered star people in maybe Brad Steiger's book, and people that came at our age. There were people that came in during with Hitler, and those before him were setting up shop here and there in the mountains and whatever, under the mountains. And I don't know how the children today, my grandchildren, I've got a 20-year-old sitting in there on my couch playing Fortnite or something like that. But, they play games. And I don't know if everybody does, but it seems to be a whole new reality for children that were born 2000 or older. My other grandson was born 2001. I believe he's 18. And he was the star quarterback here at Gulf Breeze High School, driving a black Mustang, being the typical perfect kid, blonde hair, blue-eye type kid. And then he got hit, his third concussion, and he's real depressed because they won't let him play now, I think. He was born, we knew from the time he came and stayed with me in Kentucky for a while, he was going to be that. So our culture, nurturing in our culture and what we think we're supposed to do and practice in college and high school. Did you have, Bridgett, what city were you born, and what part, were you born in Russia, or were you born here in America? And you mentioned your bloodline. So,
yeah, no, I was born in the USA, California, and then And then I grew up in Nevada. I grew up in a one-horse town. I mean, when we got a stoplight, it was like a major deal.
Wow. You lived in a town
so
before you got a stoplight? Are you serious?
I did.
Wow.
We only had like 200 people in my high school. We had a small. It was a desert, Nevada kind of desert, kind of rednecky town. That I grew up in, and it's not far from Reno. Now it's like horrible. It used to be a little bit of pasture, and we used to, have fun.
No business?
We partied a lot, but
There's no business there? Was it just cattlemen, or what type of?
When we first moved to the town, we actually had to go to either Reno or Fallon, which was same amount of time in either direction, because we didn't really have a supermarket. And so that was when I was growing up. But then now the town has really developed. Yeah, they put golf courses out there, like Arnold Palmer golf courses, and all this stuff out in Fernley, and it just became like this place to retire. And now it's like pretty messy, and all the farms have sold out, so everything's dried up because the water is gone. Um, because the farmers sold off the water to the state, so they manage it now. So once that nothing was getting watered, all the 300-year-old cottonwoods died, and also all the grass and everything. And it's pretty. It was it was kind of a really beautiful green place in the summer when I was growing up, even in the middle of the desert. But it's terrible now.
Whoa.
So.
What a story to tell in the USA going out to the world. However, those things happen, folks. We learn as an individual, and we're going to talk about that nature and nurture and, where you step down as a star child or from out there. We'll just say everybody is from somewhere out there, as Bridgett said. Bridgett Lynn Dolgoff with our ACO Cosmos Conscious Consultants Club. So if you'd like to be one, get in touch with me and Matt or even Bridgett, because she'll understand that you heard her on TJ Morris ET Radio and what we do here. We are all working with the Cosmos Radios group that Ahmad started with me and Janet Carolesson of Aquarian Radio, so I'll put that in. Mike Greenlee of Revolution Radio. We all Cosmos Radios. And Bridgett here has accepted that she is a star child, and we're talking with her about where she's, I guess, touched down into a human form. So I take it at least she's wanting to be normal and admit that she has a container, which we call a body and a mind and a spirit. So let's talk a little bit about that, Bridgett. So you grew up in a place that changed your reality, knowing that you had to grow up and learn. You had parents, but you looked around. When did you learn that your town with no light, or finally getting a light was a big deal, very small high school, and everything was green and you had trees and then no water and that was sold off? That type of reality, when did it start wanting you to look out and reach out and touch someone, so to speak, in the reality that, wow, if I'm in the Matrix and this is a little bitty town and turning into a dust town, where is everybody? Did you just like, wow, look at Reno? What opened your eyes to your reality, that it extended more than just your high school? Did it happen about that time?
No. I had
epiphany?
No, well, I've always been working on, so I first started working on insects between ages of 4 and 5. I started working with that world. And then as I aged, I started working with animals, healing them, communicating with them, understanding them. So my oldest relationships with anything on this planet are definitely the insects and the bees. And then I started working on people. So I had a family on my mom's side that people contacted, in my family, the family members, because they had, gifts of healing and different kinds of things. So was kind of born that way, with that sensitivity on top of the star stuff. So it was kind of amplified. But when I was 4, I got really sick from age of 4 to 5. And I got sick like 3 times, really, really sick, where I had these really high fevers. And I didn't go to school for long periods of time because I had these really bad fevers and I got really, really sick. And there was nothing that, like the hospitals or anybody could do. So basically just have my parents take me home and just be like, whatever outcome, is going to happen, just make her comfortable kind of a thing. And then I would have these, so during it, I had these stigmata events. So I'd get really sick and, almost to death, like really high fevers. And then what I came to learn were on this planet are burn stigmatas. So there's several types of stigmata. So there's the rose, thorn, there's the thorn over the heads, bleeding from those places, or bleeding from the hands or the feet, or sometimes some healers bleed from all of it. It just depends on, I guess, your belief system. But there's also these things that are called burn stigmatas. And the burn stigmatas, it's very interesting because they do smell like roses, just like the blood that they say that comes out of people with the blood stigmata. And so I'd get really sick. I'd get a really high fever, and then these brands would appear like kind of on my feet, and there were two just separate symbols, and it was the same thing every time, and it happened over 3 times from like age 4 to 5, and so uh, that kind of aligned, I think, my ancestry on my mom's side and those bloodlines, and my ancestry on my dad's side and those bloodlines, and then to activate me as a star kid. Because the symbols and how you can put them together and how they form, they basically, when they come together, so I had a symbol on each foot, and if you draw them together, it's the symbol of earth. So it's like two things coming together, onto earth. So that's kind of how I view it. But my mom kind of started drinking after this period, so it was kind of bumpy for her. I imagine as a mother, it probably had to be really intense, even though she was like really open and psychic. And
were they
but
open wounds, or were they like something you were born with, like a birthmark,
no,
or
they just said
something
they were
that
like,
started appearing?
I just get so hot, these fevers, and then these symbols would burn onto my feet, and they look like burns. They look like if somebody had burned me, but they smelt like roses, like the stigmata. So these were like burned on from the inside out of through my feet through these really heavy fevers.
So it never went away? You have the
It
rose
did go away.
stigmata that never went away?
Eventually it would peel. You could, peel the skin off, like all of that, and eventually they went away completely. But my mom just, it was, I think, tough on her, trying to contain somebody like me. And, I started raising bugs from the dead at age 5. And I used to steal my mom's, seasoning containers, and then put things over them, and then I'd find, dead bugs and put them in there, and I would spend time trying to resurrect them. So, and most of the time I was pretty successful. But after age 4, everything kind of changed. And so my mom had a really bumpy ride, and I think that, she was kind of terrified by me in some ways, and didn't really know how to contain me. So I think it was very hard for her to actually love me. Yeah.
So you studied. It's so funny because my company years ago with this Ascension Age was entomology, the study of insects, and ontology, the study of beings, a branch of metaphysics. So, we use ontology even in computer science and information science. But popular is the fact that even the study of insects, in today's reality, everything's changing so fast, we can't keep up with each other. Now, stigmata, I've never heard it coming from the study of bugs or resurrecting bugs, but I have had a friend that had a daughter that had those things with her skin, those red things that come up and would blotches and peel, and they got medicine for it now, but I saw it on her legs, blotchy legs. It was a name for it, something to do with the skin and blood, but they have a name for it now, and medicines for it, but I don't know the name of it, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Did you ever find out?
You can go on and look up burn stigmatas, and actually quite a few people do get them. And they look like brown, like black. It looks like burns, like black burns. And people just get them. It's just kind of a trip. But yeah, so yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of how I grew up, and my star family was always trying to stop me and halt me. So we ended up getting in a fight for 4 years because I was really pissed off at them because they disclosed something that really made me angry. But they
Which one? Are we talking a family off planet that are not in your 3D reality, or your parents? because I
Yeah, no,
tend
my
to
story
lose people.